hello, welcome to my channel or welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 7 foods that are banned in European nations as well as other developed countries like New Zealand, Canada, even China ban some of these products. So what's the purpose of life if you're bedridden or if you have to depend on others to take care of you because you are unhealthy? I know there's a saying, everyone must die. Obviously, that's a fact, and that's not what I mean, yes, some people do want to live long lives, long healthy lives, but if you want to live before you expire, stay tuned to see foods you shouldn't eat so you can live a healthier, better, more productive, and hopefully more meaningful life.
They make food super palatable.
What's wrong with that? Don't we want the richness of good taste?
Food has to be pleasurable. It has to be desirable. But look around, Morley. Look around this country. Ask the rest of the world how they view Americans. And they will say, we don't want to look like them.
You're saying that the food industry and the flavoring industry together are trying to make and succeeded in making us addicted.
Did the industry do this deliberately? No. They learned what people want.
There's no question we're trying to create irresistibility and a memorability. I think, though, there's then a leap to get to that leads to overconsumption.
The critics say, but you provide the means to seduce people into eating too much salt, too much fat, too much sugar, and responsible partly for the obesity in this country.
Our business is to make taste experiences pleasurable ones. So I don't think that the flavors create an overeating problem. That's a different issue.
But is it a different issue? Because surely what the food industry wants is to provide the kind of flavor that will make people want more.
So let's talk about foods that are banned in other developed nations that are allowed to be used and sold in America. Most of these foods are staples in most American homes, and most of us struggle with letting go of these kinds of foods. And there's a reason why. These foods, by the way, are ultra processed foods. They are highly inflammatory, disease promoting, and even some are deemed carcinogenic. Here are foods that are banned in other developed nations except for America. Number 1 is bright orange and green sodas. These products contain bromine vegetable oil, or BVO. BVO is found in bromine flame retardants. It can potentially cause memory loss and skin and nerve problems. So on May of 2022, the FDA published a toxicology study that evaluated potential health effects related to BVO. The data from the study suggests that oral exposure to BVO is associated with increased levels of bromine and can affect your thyroid. Mountain Dew was one of the drinks or the sodas that had BVO, but they have stopped using BVO in their drinks. Number 2 is potassium bromate. It's a suspected carcinogen, and there are studies indicating that it causes cancer in some animals. Potassium bromate is banned in India, Europe, and China, but not the US. There is some evidence it may be toxic to human consumption and that it may initiate or even promote the development of tumors. So potassium bromate is a chemical that is used in mostly flour and dough products. It's supposed to help soften the dough and give it a better rise. It's cheaper when baking bakery products, but you will not find this product in bread products when you go to Europe. And their bread actually tastes better than American bread, but that's just my personal preference, I suppose. The other thing that potassium bromate does is that it brightens or whiten the color of our breads. It gives it that whiter appearance. Number 3, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this because I know I'm going to butcher it. I can't even pronounce the word, but it is this word, or ADA. This chemical is in cereals as well as bread products. It is a whitening agent and conditioner. The justification for FDA allowing this use of chemical is that they came to an agreement that if you use the regulated suggested amount, that it should not cause harm. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people overeat. I've traveled to several countries and I noticed that our serving size in the US is quite a bit compared to other countries and sicker than most people in other developed nations. This ADA breaks down to cause SEM. At high levels, SEM has been shown to increase the incidence of tumor when it came to female mice. And this was done using doses that exceeded the FDA approved amount. Number 4 is food dyes number 5, 6, and 40. Most foods that have bright yellow colors contain dye as well as 6 yellow. Dye 40 is red, so most ketchups, bright colored cereals, candies contain these colors. Dye 5, 6, and red 40. These chemicals or dyes are found to cause allergies, hyperactivity in children, gut problems, as well as other health conditions.
What does the research show about this link between hyperactivity in kids and artificial food dyes?
Kids who have ADHD, exposure to certain food additives, including some preservatives and food dyes, can exaggerate their symptoms. And when they're taken away, their symptoms improve. So now the research isn't looking like these cause hyperactivity, but they can certainly exaggerate it in those kids.
A question that's been out there for so long. We talk about, it first came up back in the 1970s. Well, what is the real issue at play here?
Well, there's some newer research, and in fact, in Europe, they now have warning labels on the foods that contain dyes that say that they may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. In Europe, they're a little bit more apt to put these warnings when they have preliminary studies. Now, for the first time, the FDA is looking at this and saying there may be an issue here, and they're exploring whether or not we should restrict the use of these dyes, put a warning label on the food, or do we just need more research?
Are there some artificial dyes a little bit more, I guess, severe than others?
Not necessarily, but the use of them has really exploded. So, in the United States, the approval of the amount of dyes that are used in food has quadrupled in recent years. So we're seeing them in everything from candy to chips to cereal, all kinds of snack foods. They're pretty ubiquitous in the food supply.
Yeah.
So all these colorful drinks, colorful breakfast pastries like Pop-Tarts and other frozen items with the fillings inside, all those fancy, colorful, bright breakfast foods that you see in the stores, most of them contain these colors. Part of the reason why they use these dyes is, for one, marketing. They want to market to children because children gravitate towards bright, colorful things. It looks very appealing to them. And the other reason is that it makes food look better, for the most part. It looks nice in color, but at the expense of our health. Obviously, they can use other forms of coloring, like using turmeric instead of yellow number 5, which a lot of countries use turmeric and other healthier options when it comes to coloring their foods. But since cheap makes more money and profits is what counts, the cheaper the products, the better. So it's just cheaper versus using real foods like turmeric, beets, hibiscus, instead of using red dye 40. Unfortunately, profit is what the bottom line is in America. The cheaper they can make their products, the better for them when it comes to profits. All right, number 5 is BHT. BHT is a flavor enhancing chemical. So it makes, food taste good, like hot dogs and stovetop cereals. So they use it in a lot of products that we use in America. Processed sausages as well as cold cut meats. Studies have determined BTH to be potentially carcinogenic for human consumption. Number 6 is high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is used in almost anything that tastes sweet, including your medications. For example, cough syrups, anything that's sweet, whether it's medications or food items, is a very cheaply made sweetener made from pure fructose and sugar. High fructose corn syrup was invented in 1957. It is a very sweet syrup, and a lot of people, unfortunately, in America are addicted to sugar, and it's a horrible addiction, just like any other drugs, except for it's legal. So high fructose corn syrup is what they use to make American sodas, as well as many other products, cereals, pastries, medications. So anything basically that's sweet and not natural probably contains high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is linked to a variety of illnesses like obesity, other inflammatory diseases, gut health problems, type 2 diabetes, and other illnesses. All those sweet beverages, the ice creams, the cakes, basically anything that's sweet has high fructose corn syrup. It is highly inflammatory and it is linked to a lot of inflammatory diseases. And last but not least, number 7 is farm-raised fish, especially salmon. Alright, so farm-raised fish not only have contaminants, they also contain antibiotics. They are not in the sea to consume planktons and shrimps and other foods that naturally gives them that color. When salmon are farm raised, they don't have access to those things that they eat in the sea or in the ocean. So they don't attain that coral or red color. They are gray, which doesn't look appealing. Everything is about making things palatable as well as addictive so they can make most out of their money. If they look the natural way that they are supposed to look in the farms, most people will not eat this, so they give them this chemical astaxanthin as if they were raised from the sea or the ocean. Astaxanthin cause harm to the environment, and a lot of these antibiotics that they use in these farm-raised fish also seeping into our waters in the ocean. It does cause some environmental concern. The levels that the FDA approved of this astaxanthin is 80 milligrams. A lot of people in America overeat, so that means we're actually consuming more of the chemicals that have been approved or okayed by FDA. If you're one of the few Americans that are actually disciplined enough to stick with the serving size, as long as you eat a variety of other foods and also eat healthier food options, it may not maybe impact you as much, but for the most part, a lot of Americans do not eat healthy. So if you're eating bad foods, highly inflammatory foods, and on top of that, you're overeating these products, that's a recipe for disease. It is a little more costly. Actually, I won't say that. I would say it's a little more time consuming to eat healthier because you do have to buy raw foods and prepare them, cook them, cut them, wash them and all that. I know it takes a little more time, but shouldn't your health be more important than convenience? It's nearly impossible to live off of these items, not to mention all the junk foods that most Americans eat daily, and be healthy or not have all these metabolic syndrome diseases like diabetes, obesity. So why do we allow these foods in the US? I think most of you guys know the answer to this. In case you don't, it's all about the money. In business, the quickest way to make money is to create a need. If you create a need and make it as if people need what you created, and make it impossible or very hard for them to do away with what you've created. For example, fast foods, packaged foods. The reason why those are created is that most people in the States are living a life that's not normal for human to live like that, where everyone is so busy. Cost of living is forcing people in America to take on 2 and 3 and even more jobs sometimes. If you don't have time, it is very difficult to cook. If you value your independence and if you want to live your purpose, it is worthwhile to really focus and pay attention to what's going on in the US.
Everyone is working on health and wellness. How can you get a consumable, acceptable product that's better for you? And the challenge now is how do you make them taste good? So when you lower the salt, what can we put in that will make it taste like it did without salt? When you lower the sugar, how can you make it taste sweeter without adding calories? So it's a whole new world that didn't even exist 10 years ago. The consumers are interesting. As much as they want to be healthy, if it's not as sweet, I don't want it.
People are still going for the tried and true, heavy on sugar, heavy on salt, heavy on fat.
So I guess the real question is obesity going down? And I guess the answer would be no.
Our ancestors used to hunt and gather and cook their food. Most of the time they'll collect berries and nuts and eat those. That's how we're supposed to make food. We're supposed to, if you're a meat eater, go find your animal and hunt it and kill it. That's the normal way to live. Go to the sea, catch your fish. That's the normal way to live. In America, most people don't have the resources, or they just don't have the time, to go fish or to grow food, their own food, prepare their own food and cook. It's just very difficult for most people, and part of that is because of our lifestyles. We're busy having to work so much just to catch up with our bills, just to make ends meet, just to make a living, which is not normal. That's not how we're supposed to live. That's why a lot of people resort to eating foods that are fast, convenient, and detrimental to their health. These are highly inflammatory foods that are deemed unsafe to other developed nations except for America. Europe, for the most part, take more of a cautious approach when it comes to these foods. If they deem that a product or food might cause harm, or there are studies that shows indication that a product or food might cause harm, that's bad enough not to sell or allow those foods. But in America, that's not enough. They look at the overall and the bottom line, which is the money. It may cause, some people some health problems. It may contribute to some health issues, but since the numbers are low and the chances of that happening is low, we're gonna go ahead and approve and sell these products. And also, they go by the serving size. The reality is that a lot of people do not stick with the serving size. We are a society that believes in eating food that soothe our emotional heartaches. We use coping skills that are not healthy, like being emotional eaters to numb our problems instead of dealing with the actual problem itself. So it's normal for a lot of people, instead of dealing with their emotional dis-ease, they cope with it by means of eating all these addictive foods, and they make them addictive for a reason.
It's creating a desire for moreness, as well as it's a desire for memorability so that people will repeat the purchases.
Given the obesity epidemic, the food industry is beginning to respond to pressure.
Basically, the bottom line is they want to make money off of people. The more addicted to these foods we are, the more money they're going to make. These are foods that are, I don't even like to call them food, but these are products that are cheaply made, they're convenient, and they're readily available, and they're cheap.
So right after you eat these meals, you have energy. The energy lasts a very short period of time, and you're hungry much sooner. And then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again.
It is a lot cheaper to go eat fast food. I mean, it can buy a hamburger for cheaper than you can buy an apple.
That's very sad. Telling me I have to pay more in order to eat healthy, and I can pay less in order to get fat, and to make you rich, or for something that I might die off of.
The poorest people in our country are the fattest people. We've done something completely wrong here.
I've never met a person with health conditions that are happy with their health. However you feel like you are happy with when it comes to your body, that's fine. But I'm talking about health. If you are unable to walk a quarter of a mile without huffing and puffing and losing your breath, if you're not able to climb a staircase without stopping and leaning, trying to catch your breath. Yes, there are some diseases that are genetic, I understand that, but most of the illnesses that we have in America, part of that is because of our lifestyle. As a person that have health issues myself, I didn't just wake up one day and say, let me just start eating healthy. I've been, for most of my life, not eating as healthy until maybe about 10 years ago. I do have scoliosis and nerve issues, and also because of some traumatic events in my life, as well as very stressful events that I had to deal with for a chunk of my life. I developed a lot of stomach issues as well. So there were a lot of things that I couldn't even eat because of my stomach issues. For the last 10 years, I decided to start eating healthier, and trust me, I've seen the difference. And now journeying towards becoming even healthier. I would say the last year and a half or so, I've been taking my health way more serious because I do like to enjoy life. I do like to travel. I do like to be independent, and I want to leave my purpose, hopefully before I leave this world, and all requires both for me to be mentally, emotionally, and physically healthy. Anything that affected you for a chunk of your life is not going to go away overnight. There's no quick fix to that, so it's a work in progress. But I've been, for the most part, doing way better in the last year and a half or so. I've been working on my spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional health, and I've seen the improvement when it comes to my health. Not all my health condition is fixable with food, but it does get better with certain foods, and there are certain foods that trigger my health conditions to flare up because they're inflammatory foods, so I stay away from those foods. And now I am heading even more to even healthier food options. I'm trying to eat more raw foods, more plant-based, and my goal is to completely stop eating ultra-processed foods, especially the ones that I've mentioned, these 7 things. I don't even eat any of those things. Once upon a time back in my young days, I did used to eat quite a bit of sweet stuff. But whatever you stop eating becomes so nasty after a while, not eating it and going back to trying it. It tastes horrible. Trust me, you will not miss any of these things that you might be addicted to. Just have the courage to leave it, and before you leave it, make sure you have something to replace it with. And that's part of the reason why people regress, because they don't find healthier things to replace what they're leaving behind or the changes that they're trying to make. So that's why I do what I do. I inform people on healthy eating habits and healthier options. I know it's hard if you live in the U.S., especially, with our crazy busy schedule, to try to cook everything from scratch and to try to eat whole foods. Even for me, time is a great struggle for me. But either way, my health is more important than anything. I just have to manage better and just do my best to eat healthier food. Whatever size you are happy with is fine. But I honestly believe if you feel good, you look good, trust me, you are more confident, you tend to be more secure, and even the way people treat you, is better when you feel and look good. I do provide a lot of healthier options, cooking ideas, product ideas, beauty ideas, and trying to inform people other options are out there. Some people just don't know any better, or they may not know other options that are available, and that's why I do what I do. Anyway, this wraps it up for this video. If you find this video informative, please give it a like. Also, if you're into holistic health, leveling up to become a better version of yourself, make sure you do subscribe and hit the post notification button so you'll be notified when I post a new video. I hope you have a beautiful, blessed day, night, evening, wherever you are, and I hope to catch you on my next video.